listening to a One Pint Stand, a Minnesota craft beer podcast that tells the stories of craft beer in Minnesota and beyond. So kick back and grab a cold one. The show starts now. Hello, my name is Dan Bobian, and I write, produce, and host a One Pint Stand. I'm ecstatic that you are listening. It looks like people are finding our podcast just fine on the internet. This podcast has actually been a passion project of mine going back to around 2016. Recently, got a little refresh. My goal with this podcast is try to tell the stories of craft beer in Minnesota and beyond. This particular episode features several of my brewing friends. We've been kind of kicking around the idea of doing kind of like a Brewers Roundtable for about a year, and the stars aligned, and it was time to sit down and put thoughts to microphone. I'm really excited. I've got three wonderful human beings. We have Shaun, Lill from HeadFlyer Brewing in Minneapolis, Kabel, Lefto from Lakes and Legends in Minneapolis, and actually soon to be the head brewer at Wabasha Brewing in St. Paul. That's very exciting for them and for Kabel. And last but not least, Riley Yawn-White from Mile Brewing in Bloomington. So everybody has a different perspective on their craft, and I'm excited to hear our conversation. Now, one thing is certain with this crew. There's going to be no shortage of opinions, and I'm going to be lucky if I can get a word in edgewise, because these goofballs were apparently under the impression that they were being paid by the word. So it's some great conversation, and with that said, let's go out to Dual Citizen Brewing in St. Paul for the first part of our beer conversation on a One Pint Stand. Cheers. All right, here we go. All right, welcome to another episode of a One Pint Stand. I'm your host, Dan Bobian. I'm here at Dual Citizen Brewing Company in St. Paul, Minnesota, and I'm being joined by some wonderful humans who all happen to be brewers. And I've really wanted to do this show for a long time and have kind of like a brewers roundtable type of a discussion. And so I'm just tickled that they're all here. So, we're gonna have a very, I don't know what you'd call it, stream of consciousness, torrential downpour of consciousness beer chat, and I'm really excited. So before we get into that, let's, if everybody would go around and say your name, your title, your pronouns, and your favorite beer to enjoy at your respective breweries.
My name is Riley. I am the brewer cellar person at Mile Brewing Company. I use he, him, his pronouns, and my favorite beer at 9 Mile is probably our Three Bears Cream Ale.
Oh, of course it's the Three Bears.
I'm a little impartial to cream ales. I'm a little more impartial to that one because I made it.
Nice. Okay. Now this totally makes sense. The other day, maybe yesterday, you posted an Instagram picture, and it was like, Three Bears. They're using, but they
a lot of bear fur went in the beer.
It's gonna be, it's gonna drink like a sweater. Okay.
I hopped over to Alaska and I shaved a few bears real quick and didn't post that going into the mash, but
Nice. All right, cool. Well, welcome. Thank you for being here.
I'm Kabel Lefto. Currently, I'm the lead brewer at Lakes and Legends. And favorite beer, is that the other thing you said? I already forgot.
I was hoping you'd say it because I didn't hear.
It was pronouns and favorite beer at your brewery.
Pronouns is he, him. Okay. And my favorite beer at Lakes and Legends right now. It'd probably be our Two Ravens Red Ale.
Okay, nice.
Big fan.
Fruity leather.
Big fan.
Last but certainly not least.
Hi, I'm Shaun Lill. I'm the head brewer over at HeadFlyer Brewing Company. Pronouns are he, him. And my favorite beer? Oh, wow. Probably Wicked Jump Shot right now.
Okay. Yeah.
That one's been turning out really good lately.
So the last time I did a podcast at HeadFlyer after the show, that was when, you remember when that basketball you'd open the can of beer, put it in a basketball, you'd drop it and try to catch it.
Oh, yeah.
I tried to do that.
I was gone by then, but I saw the outtakes.
With Nate, and I did it with Wicked Jump Shot, and that is a tasty beer.
Thank you.
Real good beer to come home, after missing the can and have it all over you. It's like, man, if this would have replaced Drakkar Noir back in the early 90s, I might have had more action on the dating scene. By more action, I mean I might have gone on a date. All right, so let's just jump in. So we're sitting here at Dual Citizen. It happens to be a brewery. You all happen to be.
This is a brewery?
Yeah, that's right. I'm sorry, the Needle Point podcast is next week. That will be at the Hallmark up in Blaine.
Dan, before you get too far into this, I need to ask you a really important question.
Yeah.
Am I allowed to swear?
Oh, yeah. We are not.
Fucking good, 'cause I swear a lot.
That's right.
I just had to be sure.
I was so paranoid. I was going to just say fuck and then be like, ah!
No, we encourage it,
Oh, fucking great.
Yeah, we could just
No need to celebrate it, Frank.
let it. I'm off. I'm not at the school anymore, so I can swear. Speak how you want to speak. So I know that there are a lot of different paths that one can take to becoming a brewer, and so I'm really curious to hear about each of your individual journeys into this industry, and I think what I love about craft beer is it really brings people together. I wouldn't know any of you guys if it weren't for beer. And so in addition to being like a product that is very popular, I think craft beer can be more than that. I think it can really bring people together and really, really bring about a lot of good. So before we start talking about your path to becoming a brewer, if you just want to talk a little bit about what drew you to craft beer, what did you like about craft beer initially, and then I want to hear about what it was that kind of like, propelled you onward into a career in the industry. So whoever wants to start off.
Sure. I hated craft beer when it first got big or whatever. I remember my friends and I sitting around drinking Milwaukee's Best or whatever.
The Beast,
whatever we had at the time. It was just, and he brought a 4-pack of something over, and it was like $12. And I remember telling him at the time to his face, I said, I will never pay $12 for a 4-pack of beer. And here we are today, and now I make that beer. But yeah, so craft beer really wasn't my thing. And then that same buddy and he started talking to me about just getting together and brewing, trying to make beer on the weekends together. So we started home brewing, and I started liking it more and more. I think part of the problem with the craft beer for me that I didn't like is there wasn't a lot of great craft beer when I was younger. I'm a little bit older than these guys here.
I think we're the same age, right?
Same age,
yeah.
Yep.
Okay, nice. Anybody else want to jump in?
Yeah. So growing up, I was always a big science guy. Absolutely loved any time in school I got to work with anything scientific, biology, physics, chemistry, all that fun stuff. Like, loved it. When I got older, and I moved out of my parents' house and into my first place with some friends, one day a roommate was like, hey, I'm interested in brewing beer, and I think I'm going to go over to that homebrew store and buy a kit. Do you want to help me do it? And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? It's Saturday, I'm doing nothing. Let's do this. And realized that, like, in the process of making that beer, that it can be a very scientific process, and it put a lot of the things I love about science together into one thing.
Beer to me is mainly about togetherness, and I think that's what really drew me towards the whole scene was the experience of that.
I'd absolutely agree with that. the community aspect, really. Honestly, that was the biggest draw. But finding out I could put those little things that I loved so much about school, a thing I didn't love, into practice in something I did love.
Well, and I wonder, like, that's a really important thing. Like, I think that, I don't know that guidance counselors even think about, like, to recommend brewing to somebody who's interested in science.
Well,
and likes
because
to create.
Because if you're under the age of 18, well, really 21, they can't really tell you to go into an alcohol industry. I would assume that's very frowned upon. So.
Oh, yeah. You have to be 21 to do most brewing programs in the United States. I haven't seen one that you can be 18.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. So
Yeah, which was also very interesting because when my roommate and I bought that homebrew kit,
You were 18?
they did not give a fuck that we were under 21.
you can brew beer at age 16.
Yeah,
Like,
because
that's-
because it's not alcoholic.
Yeah.
The end product.
You
is
can't buy
alcoholic.
yeast. You can buy the packet, but you can't buy the yeast.
No, you can literally get everything.
That's wild.
Yeah, but because they're not actually selling you an alcoholic product, they can do that.
Loopholes.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. How about you, Riley?
I got into craft beer because it was stronger than Miller Lite, and I was in college. But then I found the community of it by going to tap rooms and doing things. I went to a undergrad where our program board would do a lot of outings to breweries, and so I just go with my friends because they were on the program board. And I loved it, and I loved getting the tours and seeing the behind the scenes. That's how I found out how scientific it was. And I was really into science in high school, and then I got to college where I was supposed to be a biochem major, and dropped out like a hot potato for music. And then I realized how super sciencey it was, and I kind of just fell into it professionally with a happy accident. But yeah, the community was a really big part of that for me. I loved going to breweries with my friends. I found my favorites on accident wandering around after Pride or going and bowling somewhere, and then afterwards being like, hey, do you want to get a beer? What's nearby?
You had a very different college experience than me because I couldn't afford anything but cheap beer. In college.
I was never paying.
Right on.
I went to school with a lot of rich friends, and I never paid.
Right on.
Does everybody remember the first craft brewery they ever went to?
Yeah.
Yep.
What was yours?
Liney's.
Okay, Liney's. How about you, Kabel?
Summit.
Summit? Riley?
I think mine was Summit.
Okay. Mine was Great Lakes
All right on.
in Cleveland.
All of a sudden, so many things make so much sense.
Yeah, that's right. That's right, yeah. So,
A keg of Christmas ale every year.
yeah. And
Makes so much sense.
What's funny, I'd never tried, I'd never had a flight before, so I went to Great Lakes in 2006 to visit my sister and her fiance. And it was like a puddle jumper flight from Milwaukee. So we were in a normal plane from Minneapolis.
You just flew over Lake Michigan, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. And then got to Milwaukee. I'm like, oh, that was cool.
That nice puddle, yeah.
Then we get on something right out of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. And I'm like, is this thing safe? And it's like every vibration, if I farted, I would see the wing kind of jiggle. And by the time I got there, it was a white knuckle. It wasn't that long, but I thought I was going to die. And we finally got to the airport. My sister and her fiance, Cody, are like, what do you want to do? I'm like, I could use a beer. And so they took me to Great Lakes, and I got a flight board. There were 8 beers. And each one was different and new, and the flavors were awesome. And I was like, holy crap. I want more of this. This is cool. And it was just a neat experience. I had not tasted the Great Lakes Christmas Ale until the very first winter beer dabbler I went to when it was down in Mears Park. And they had that, and they were poking it with, and it would caramelize, and it was...
So Christmas party 2023. We're gonna do beer
I
poking in the
know.
backyard.
Yes, I would. I've always wanted to do that, but sometimes the weather doesn't always cooperate with that. So
I thought you were going to say we're going to take a little pond jumper and see how long the Dan can make it without
we're gonna
floating.
hotwire a Cessna and go relive the glory days. So yeah. All right, so let's talk about. So everybody, once you discovered craft beer was a thing that you were into, from a community standpoint, from a scratching your science nerd standpoint, to all right, I'll begrudgingly pay $14 for a six-pack standpoint. When did you realize, or what kind of nudged you in the direction of thinking, I want to do this for a career. I want to brew. I want to be able to produce beer at the commercial level.
So for me, honestly, so after that first batch of beer, I fell in love with the process. I started, my roommate, not so much, and I kind of inherited all of his stuff that he purchased to homebrew, and I started doing it a lot more, and really fell in love with the process. And then at one point decided that I wanted to try and make a career out of it, because I didn't know much about craft beer at the time outside of I was 11, 12 years ago. So there weren't.
I was going to say I was 11 or 12.
Yeah. There weren't a lot of craft breweries, so it was hard to find something. So I'd wait for, while working all my other little jobs, wait for something to come along, apply, and not get a job doing whatever I wanted to do, until probably 6 years ago, 7 years ago, I was working a sales job that I didn't enjoy. I wasn't having a good time doing it. And a friend of mine that I was working with he recognized it and was one day he was just like, what do you want to do? Clearly you're not happy. What do you want to do? Where do you want to be? And I kind of hemmed and hawed and didn't have a good answer. And he literally cornered me one day and was just like, count of three. What do you want to do? 1, 2, 3, go. And I was like, fuck, beer. I want to do something involving beer. I want to make beer. And just immediately realized in that moment, we've gone from 10 craft breweries in the state of Minnesota to over 100. There's got to be a way to make a job for this. So I just started applying to every brewery that I possibly could for any position, anything, brewing, front of house. Wound up at Urban Growler, bartending, eventually became their front of house manager. And that's what spiked me into the career and into the actual industry itself.
And I would imagine that working at Urban Growler gave you a lot of really good experience, because they're a brewery with a kitchen. So there's that whole facet of the food part of it that, really adds a additional wrinkle. And I know that their head brewer, master brewer, pretty decent brewer,
Deb knows her shit.
Yeah, and so that must have been. Were there times when you would, pull her aside and just ask questions? Was she pretty
all the
helpful?
Time.
Okay,
all the time. I'm pretty sure I annoyed her more than once because I just trying to gain knowledge off of my home brewing. Just for my very little knowledge I had from home brewing, because I just did things. I didn't really read up on how things would react to other things, how certain flavors would go together or anything, ingredients would work together. I had a very I'm just gonna do it mindset because it was home brewing.
Yeah.
So fuck it, I'll do it, and if I don't like it, I'll dump it. That's $40 down the drain, whatever. But as I worked there, I got more into the hey, because I had the resource, I had Deb there to answer my questions. I would go, hey, I'm gonna make this beer. I'm thinking about doing this. What's your opinion? I know she went to UC Davis and has a master's in brewing, so I knew most of the time I'd be able to say, well, I'm gonna do this. Is that a stupid idea, or should I go ahead and do it? And she'd usually have no, this is probably what's going to happen. It's probably going to taste like this. And after the first 2 or 3 times, I didn't listen to her and had to dump out everything because it was a bad idea and she was very right. I started to take more of that in. So,
yeah. Riley or Shaun, who wants to go next?
Full honesty, I forgot the question.
If you were on a desert island and could only pick one brand of instant pancake mix, what would it? No, just kind of what nudged you?
Okay,
Well, Kodiak, because it gives me the illusion of health.
There you go.
Thank you. That's what I wanted
I know
to
it's not, and I know it tastes like cardboard, but it's all I buy in bulk at Sam's.
Well, this has been Pints and Pancakes. We'll see you next time.
That's the only thing you buy at Sam's?
No. The only pancake mix I buy at Sam's.
I have more questions.
Sorry.
I also buy my laundry detergent. Why I got into brewing professionally? Was that the gist of it?
Yep. Yeah.
Basically.
So I got into it, I think I mentioned earlier, like a happy accident, but I first saw it as a viable career while I was at a tap room, and I was not under 21, sorry. But I hadn't graduated yet. So I was at a tap room. I don't like that tap room anymore, so I'm not going to say what it is. But there was a Growler magazine, and Rip Growler. And I was looking through there, and I saw a Pride in Brewing ad, like a full-page ad. And I was like, oh, shit, that's cool. And that was also, it was around June, so it made sense to have a full-page ad in the magazine, besides the fact that it's put on by the same people. And I was like, that's really cool. I love that this is a community where, that's a thing. And so I was like, that's really fun. I hope that people use that. Turns out they didn't. I was the first person to ever receive that scholarship.
Oh, nice.
And so I graduated college, didn't know what I was going to do. I had a degree in music and women's gender and sexuality studies, and could not get a job, didn't know what I was going to do, so I did a year of AmeriCorps. Turns out I hate desk work so much. I am too ADHD for that. I can't sit still. I can't do anything for that period of time. And so I had this desk job with AmeriCorps when COVID hit, and then we were working from home, and that was even worse because I was just home and I was just drinking craft beer all day while I was working.
I bet you had some really fantastically wildly written TPS reports.
I absolutely did. I was in meetings just I had a coffee cup full of Alaskan amber, and I was like, this is great.
Did your coffee cup say this is a beer?
No, my coffee cup said I use fuck like a comma, and it had pretty floral
that's
pastels.
Better. Yeah,
Eugene broke that cup. My dog broke that cup as soon as I got him.
Eugene.
I was pissed. Yep. But I saw that this scholarship was opening, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to apply for this scholarship. What if I get it? And then I could get in, because I tried to get jobs at breweries, just front of house, and I never got a job. Because I figured I had worked in restaurants and stuff. I had all the customer service experience, but I couldn't find a job. I guess I'm not personable enough.
I'd agree.
But I applied for that, and then, COVID and all these things were happening, and my family wasn't doing so hot back home. I'm from Florida, and so I went back home, and I was there for a little while, but I was not happy there, and so I was, kind of just lost and, didn't know what to do. I got a job as an admissions counselor at Montana Technological University, and I moved out to Montana, and I was there for 4 days, and on the third day there, I got an email saying I'd gotten the Pride in Brewing scholarship, and I was like, oh, well, can I make it work being in Montana? There is one brewery in Butte. It is Butte Brewing Company. And so I think I might have been able to sway it where, like, because it was COVID, like, I could, do it remotely. But I was like, I don't want to do it remotely. I don't want to do this. I didn't realize how far away I was from people I knew, from things I loved, from, more than one craft brewery. So I broke my lease, packed up all my shit. I returned the U-Haul, and the next day I was there to pick it up again. And hauled all my stuff back to Minnesota. I got multiple part-time jobs to try and make it affordable, and I had my first, because I couldn't just go back to Minnesota. I then had to go back to Florida, get a part-time job there, make enough money to move back to Minnesota to start classes. I did my first online portion of the dual, I almost said dual citizen. It's also DCTC, not DCBC.
Yeah.
Dakota County Tech has a brewing and beer stewardship program that Shaun also did. I did my first online class in the back of my Ford Ranger somewhere in Illinois using my phone as a hotspot because I was on my way back to Minnesota.
That's crazy.
I lost my AirPods somewhere out there.
You were in Montana on your way back to Minnesota?
Huh?
You were in Montana on your way back to...
I had moved out to Montana, and then I did a lot of driving.
I was going to say, how did you end up in Illinois if you were in...
Because I drove back to...
He used MapQuest. That's how. So don't trust it.
He's young and he didn't understand MapQuest.
Which way's north?
No idea.
That's fascinating. I didn't know that. Wow, 3 days, and then.
Yeah, Riley really said, "Fuck Montana."
Yeah.
Which is sad because it's beautiful, and I'm so mad that
you can't say anything nice now. You said "fuck
Montana."
Montana.
I've been blacklisted from Montana. I can never go back.
Yeah,
but he's the mayor of Montana, so that's he writes the tax code for there.
Riley is absolutely the mayor of Montana.
We gotta that make a good sticker. I think that would be
The mayor of Montana.
Yes, right.
Does that make Bradley happy that there's a sticker of you that says Mayor of Montana so people stop focusing on the sticker of his face?
I think he would love that, actually.
No.
All right, we'll figure it out.
How about you, Shaun? I mean, Shaun and I are I feel like Shaun and I are the grizzled old people, and then you two are the young whippersnappers who are going to save the world.
Do I get to be Walter Matthau, or you are?
That's a good
you're
question.
Jack Lemmon?
Yeah, I think.
Other way around?
Yeah, probably.
Probably.
I'm a little bit more like curmudgeon-y and weird.
I'm
probably
Felix,
than you are.
you're Oscar.
Yes, right.
Yeah,
well,
right.
I'm definitely the messy one, whoever that is. Because as my students told me today at work, how the hell do you find anything in this mess? I'm like, abstract organization, baby.
Right on.
I know where everything is.
The point is, you don't, so you can't find it.
Well, I got into how we got into the industry. Is that what we're talking about?
Yep.
Yeah,
I think so.
Yep.
So mine was my wife. I was home brewing. I was home brewing a lot.
Cameo appearance from Borat.
And I was a miserable paralegal, actually. And we had 3 kids in school, and we were just doing the jobs that we had to do to make things work. And I come home and I was just miserable. I hated my job, but it paid well, and it's what we needed at the time. But our kids were getting older, and they were getting close to graduating, and the DCTC opened up for the first year. And my wife actually signed me up for the class without telling me about it. And came home one day and she's like, by the way, you're starting school in June.
Thank God for Amy.
Yeah, at Dakota County. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And she's like, I hate that you're always so unhappy and that, every day you come home from work and you just hate life. And she's like, I want you to do what you're happy doing. And we're in a spot now where we can afford to do this and all that stuff. So I started taking classes. It was every Saturday from the fall through the spring. And then we still had a little bit of time before the kids graduated and whatever. So I took classes, got out, and then did some beer tending stuff. But then the right spot opened up, And we kind of crunched the numbers on if we could really afford this, because it was a pretty significant pay cut for me. And she was super supportive, and she was like, "Oh, go for it," and so that's just kind of what happened. It was my wife just saying, like, and to her credit, she said, like, a month after I started brewing at HeadFlyer, she said, "You're a completely different person. Like, you are happier, you're more fun to be around, like, you're just yeah, like I said, it was a pretty big pay cut, but you can't really put a price on some of those things."
Right, yeah.
I am so glad Shaun went last.
She was right.
How could we follow that?
That's right.
It wouldn't have been great.
I mean, I've heard of a honey-do list. I've never heard of a honey-happy list. That's awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
okay, I've met Amy before. She's wonderful human being. That's such a cool story. Hey, thank you for listening. Hopefully you are enjoying a One Pint Stand. My aim is to help spread the word about craft beer. Enjoying craft beer is a passion of mine, and I love chatting about it with other people. A One Pint Stand has a goal of helping breweries also tell their stories. I love to get out in and beyond Minnesota to visit breweries, beer bars, and meet other interesting beer people. If you are also into those things, you'll probably want to keep tabs on the show. So go ahead and follow a One Pint Stand on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. We would also appreciate any and all positive reviews on iTunes to help move us up in the queue so that more beer geeks can find us. If you happen to like reading about craft beer, I started my own blog, and all my writing can be found at aonepintstand.com. After writing for 8 years as editor-in-chief at Beerploma, it was time for me to start my own blog. So make sure you check out the blog for some interesting craft beer content of the written variety. I truly appreciate you listening and taking the time to enjoy our stories. Now back to the show. So now you're all ensconced in beer. You dream about, Plato degrees, hop additions.
I have nightmares about whether or not I crash something that I'm supposed to be transferring the next day.
So that's,
yours are more nightmares.
that's interesting. So, is it necessary for someone to go to brewing school to have a crack at getting a decent brewing job, or can you take a non-traditional path like Kabel did and break into a brewery during off hours, hack into the mainframe, change the books, create your own name tag, and just show up on a Tuesday and be, "Hi, I'm Kabel. I'm here." Like, what are the pros and cons of brewing school, and is it necessary? What makes it better? What makes it harder?
School or have to have Kabel's looks.
Oh yeah,
That's true.
I'm pretty sure I cruised through on these babies, so
not all of us could have that jawline.
I don't think any industry, not just brewing industry, but I don't think any industry is there's a set blueprint for what you need. Does it help to go to school? Absolutely. You learn quite a bit there, plus you get the experience, and the internship is invaluable. The internship that I spent at Tin Whiskers learning under Derek Brown was an unbelievable learning experience for me, and you can't duplicate that kind of experience. But if you have a technical background or a scientific background and the right attitude towards it, you absolutely could get into it without going to school.
I have a lot of opinions on this because I don't think that you need a traditional education to go into many fields. I know so many people that are more prepared to be in a field that don't have schooling, and I say this as somebody that went to a ridiculously expensive undergrad. And do I regret it? No, because I love the people I met there, and I made a lot of lasting connections, but I'm not using that. My favorite thing is being like, I have a music degree, and I have people like, oh, what do you do with that? I'm like, absolutely nothing. I pay off my debt. I brew. And like Shaun said, the internship aspect of the DCTC program was where I learned the most. And I hate saying that because I
berated you on a regular basis about the things you learned there versus how it actually works in a brewery.
Well, the textbook said that this was what's supposed to happen.
Yeah, that's not how it works, bud.
Exactly. So it gives you a really good background.
Derek's favorite thing to say to me was, "You won't learn this in a book."
Yeah.
We had a game that we played with Riley when he interned with me at Lakes and Legends.
See, that's the point. That's why I didn't want to say anything nice about it, because I interned with Kabel.
Yeah. It was a lot of like,
the truth.
Okay, here's this is what we learned. Well, yes, technically you're right, Riley. What the book told you is right, technically, but every brewery is different. And everything's going to happen different, so you can do it by the book if you want.
Shit's going to hit the fan somewhere along the line.
It's not going to be fun.
You need to know where to diverge.
Yeah. I think that, there's like the difference between book smarts and street smarts. I think it's like, it really boils down to how much do you want something? How much are you willing to invest in learning on your own, or just like, trying to be a sponge when you're in a brewery. I know a lot of people that like, they really want to dive in and learn, and they're always looking to talk and learn and hear. Even brewers amongst brewers, a lot of times they start talking about like scientific stuff, and I'm like, when do we get to try the Pilsner? That's what I care about. But like,
We're trying to explain the science behind the Pilsner before you try it, Dan. Come on.
Right, exactly. And I'm like, this is boring. But like, there's so much. I have yet to meet a brewer that's like, I'm not really into it. I just do this for the paycheck. Like, I think it's one of those careers
for the paycheck.
Yeah, I don't think there's really a paycheck to do it for.
Right. Exactly.
You can get paid well, and it's
if you're
still
in
not
it
enough.
for the paycheck, you are a fool.
Yeah. So I think that's really interesting. So kind of along the lines of, I know we talked about is brewing school necessary? I always assume that in order to be a good brewer, one had to have a scientific background or an aptitude for learning science. Is that true? Or could somebody who, let's say in their freshman year of college had an ACT score in math low enough to take math sampler, is there a lot of like, once you get beyond the basics, how much chemistry, how much math, how much science is involved in brewing?
I think you need to, more than anything, you need to understand the concept of science. Like, you may not understand science, but you need to be able to learn and understand how it impacts brewing. But you also need to have your heart and your soul in the right place for a passion for brewing. If you're not willing to learn and you're not willing to put that work in, then it's going to show up. It will show up in your beer, whether you think it's going to or not. If you are just in there because you think brewing is cool and fun, and you're not willing to learn why you're doing what you're doing, it's going to show up in your finished product for sure.
Yeah, one of my absolute favorite things that a very good friend of mine said to me, like when I was really starting to actually get to write recipes for Lakes and Legends and whatnot, was he came by and he tried them, and like he had been the head brewer at Urban Growler for a little while when I started. Like, I respect him very much. Jeremy King.
Oh yeah, that guy.
he came by during CBC and tried some of my beers after I had written a few recipes and was like actually starting to figure myself out and get my footing under actually making beer. And one of the best things he said is that you can tell when someone brews with intention and when they just put a bunch of shit into a kettle and say, this is going to be a beer. And any beer brewed with intention always tastes better than that, even if it's not a great beer. And all these beers that you have made are clearly beers brewed with intention.
Right.
And
you can always tell the people who are brewing a beer just because they're using ingredients or whatever that are popular and hip at the time, and that's the only reason they're using them. They don't know why they're using them. They don't know the intent behind that, but they just know that people like that at that time, and they're throwing it in there. And again, it will show up in your final product. I promise you. If you are not doing it for the right reasons, people will notice in
Yeah.
your final product.
Agreed, 100%.
I think the difference between a good beer and a great beer is the willingness to understand what's going on behind the scenes and to learn the nitty-gritty and to know exactly what you're doing every step of the way and how anything that you change could affect the end product, and making those conscious decisions to make it what you want it to be. Like, you can design a recipe. I always personally design recipes based off of what I want to be drinking, and I will alter steps along the way to get that. And I think that's really important. And I personally love the chemistry side of things. I don't always understand it, but I think it's fascinating.
You do a real good job at faking it.
Thank you. It's my favorite pastime.
So what? Give me a specific, something that, Riley, you phrased it well. You need to know what's going on. What does that mean? Give me a specific thing of something that is super important that none of us out here on the other side of the brew house who just talk about beer and drink beer but don't really brew beer. What's a really kind of an inside look at something that's super important that nobody knows about?
Water chemistry.
Let's talk about that. How do each of you handle that? I know that depending on, so you brew in Bloomington, Kabel brews in Minneapolis, you brew in Minneapolis.
Yep.
Northeast Minneapolis.
Yeah.
Shaun brews in Northeast Minneapolis. I brew in downtown Minneapolis. Riley brews in Bloomington.
Yeah.
Half of our watershed is from Minneapolis.
Okay.
But specifically not our part of Minneapolis.
Yeah, so it's all different.
So
I don't really trust Bloomington's water report.
I tried.
either.
I tried. So there's those books that you read when you're into beer, malt, hops, yeast.
Did
and
you try
water.
to read the water one?
Oh, I tried. I got
You fucking dummy.
I know. I was I've watched so many John Palmer videos on water chemistry.
He's got his little charts and everything.
And I'm
he makes it look so easy.
What the hell's going on here?
When I was learning to design recipes, I read the same 4 pages of that book for 2 hours straight, trying to comprehend the idea of how many parts per million of certain salts that you put in to change the chemistry.
Yeah.
And all I did was get a headache.
Right.
I went for
learned
hops first, and then
almost
I tackled water later.
So
I told you not to.
I mean, you can always get a water report from the city that basically lays out kind of the chemicals in the water. And basically, from what I gather, and this is a very limited amount, but hard water is good for certain styles and not good for others, and then soft water is good for certain things. And then there's the whole pH of the water that you want for different styles.
Yep.
How do you, once you get
The alkalinity is the
alkalinity
That's the biggest thing.
for yeast health. Basically.
Okay. So how does one go about making sure that you're putting your water in your breweries to be the best place to make sure that your yeast can do its thing in the right manner, to make sure it's well suited to brew the styles that you're brewing? How do you go about that?
So we don't have a whole lot of. There's not a lot we can do about the minerals that are in the water. We have a filter that we use, but we don't soften it.
Okay.
Because for the most part, you don't want soft. You said soft water is good for some styles. Soft water is not good for any style. It's just not as hard water as good for some styles. Basically, what we try to control for the most part is our mash salts to help with the hops and the mash pH, and then we control the alkalinity on the water coming in from the ground.
Okay.
We just try to lower the pH or whatever, because tap water is pretty high pH. So we just try to control that, bring the alkalinity down, help the yeast out a little bit.
Okay.
In that term.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't, we do roughly the same thing, and I don't know what you guys do in recipe design, but usually when I design a recipe, I've got our water report, and then I found a website that has the water reports from just everywhere in the world that you could ever think of for the last 50 plus years. And I just search, like, I'll either search where that beer style, whatever I'm making, like when I did a Bock, I searched for, I forget what city in Germany, but I searched for the city in Germany where the style Bock was originated, and tried to make our water match their water using salts and whatever I needed to. It's a lot of things like that.
And there's only so much correction you can do with salts before you skew something else in another way. So you usually get a salt in the form of a combination of minerals. And so you're like, okay, well, I'm going to add gypsum, but that's also adding not... wait, fuck. I'm going to... Calcium sulfate? Calcium chloride. Which one is it?
Well, as far as I'm aware, the two most common used are calcium chloride and
Gypsum.
Gypsum.
Yeah, so it's calcium sulfate.
Calcium sulfate. And then you can use the technical term, but basically baking soda to bring it back up if you like overcorrect.
But then you're just adding a lot more math onto your table, because that math is really confusing. And there's cheat sheets, and I think that's something that is helping a lot of people out. A lot of people that aren't like mathematically or scientifically inclined is that there are tons of resources now online that you can just like plug numbers into a calculator.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can get that. And so there's a lot of people. I personally like to understand the math behind it before I go to a calculator, just because I don't want to rely on that. Like, what if my computer's down one day and I need to do something on the fly?
Yeah,
You're a better man than I.
That's got to be a good safety net, to at least understand that. Interesting. I want to talk about, I know that throughout the way, there is a phrase or a saying that the craft beer industry is 99% asshole free. And I feel like that 1% is sitting right here. No, just kidding. That
makes sense, yeah.
Was there...
Why was he looking at you?
There's a very good reason he was looking at me.
I mean, no matter what career you're in, people help you along the way. Who was somebody in the industry or throughout your journey that really kind of like helped mentor you? Or maybe you're just like, I gotta go it alone, like Link and Zelda. You picked up your sword and got a couple heart containers and went off and brewed a Doppelbock.
It's dangerous to go alone.
Yes. So who kind of helped you along the way, or who was somebody who you'd sit down and kind of bend their ear? I know Riley and Shaun, you had internships, and
Riley had me.
I was going to say, not this fucking guy.
Right, Riley had you, and Shaun had Derek Brown. Well,
who got the better deal there?
Yeah, exactly.
I'll take Derek over almost anybody.
Yes.
Fair.
Yeah, I mean, he's quite talented. He's quite talented. So who helped you along the way? Who do you want to give props to right now?
I can think of 4 people right off the top of my head, and it starts from the beginning. Jeff Merriman was he's no longer there. He left after last year, but he was the original instructor at Dakota County Technical College for the brewing program. And he's definitely the definition of a guy who knows a ton about brewing and a ton about the brewing scene, but understands that there's no money in it.
Yeah.
I think that the time commitment and the money and everything is just not something that he is willing to sacrifice, but he also had all that knowledge and wanted to share it with other people. I think he was the perfect instructor for their first instructor for that program.
Were you in the first class that went
through?
through?
The very first class.
Okay,
yeah.
Interesting. Do you know how many of those individuals are still in the industry?
There's quite a few of us.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't know a number off the top of my head, but I do know there's quite a few of us still out there. And we're kind of spread out. But Jeff was the number one. He was obviously the teacher in the program, so he got me going on the book studies of it. And the basic, the history of it and all that stuff. And then Derek Brown, my mentor through my internship at Tin Whiskers, rest in peace. He was basically like, yeah, your books are awesome and you're learning a lot, but here's what reality is too. Like, take that, but take this. And then when I was a beer tender, my first position as a beer tender was up at Alloy Brewing in Coon Rapids. And one of the owners and head brewer up there, Rob Falink, kind of took me under his wing because he knew that I didn't want to be a beer tender. That was an means to an end there. And he understood that. So when I wasn't beer tending, sometimes I'd come in on my day off and just watch them brew. Or during slow times, if he was in, I'd go into the back with him and just kind of like bounce ideas off of him and bounce some of my thoughts and questions. I ask a lot of questions, man. And he was super patient with me and kept telling me, you know, all the things that he explained why things were the way they were, basically, in a conventional setting. And then my last one is Neil, one of the owners of HeadFlyer, Neil Miller. He was the original head brewer at HeadFlyer. He hired me to be an assistant brewer. It took me about a year before he realized that he didn't need to be the head brewer anymore, but the reason that happened over that year is because of him. You know, he got me to the point where, I mean, for lack of better words, I didn't need him anymore.
Yeah.
And that's not a diss on him.
Right.
That's a credit to him.
Yeah.
So, like,
well, I think it takes a pretty smart person to know when, okay, no, here, this is your show now.
And that was basically the conversation we had one day. We went to Ray J's and had some buffalo wings.
Oh, God.
And I think I had the Bomba wings.
Oh, yeah, baby.
Yeah.
I remember every single wing.
And we were just talking.
Sauce.
Every stain on my shirt.
That was basically his words.
napkins.
He's like, this is your show now. Like, you are doing this to the point where you don't need me to be here anymore. You know, so, and he basically handed over the reins to me at that point. And it was a great feeling because, but it had to be a great feeling for him too.
Oh, for sure.
Because that was, I wouldn't have been in that position if it wasn't for him.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for those 4 people. So
Yeah.
I will always say those 4 people right there.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, for me, there's so many people because, like, I've just, going back to the community aspect of it, like, we just have such a great community, and there's so many people who were, before I was brewing, there were so many people who were just always willing to answer all my questions about, like, why the fuck they were doing something that looked stupid to me from someone without brewing experience, and then explain why it wasn't stupid. And, like, if I had to pinpoint it down to a few people, like I mentioned Jeremy King earlier, like, he was always willing to answer questions and, like, just tell me if something I was saying or some idea I had was just completely fucking stupid, and he wouldn't sugarcoat it, which is really good for me. Like, I don't need sugarcoating. I just need you to tell me if I'm wrong. And he was very much good at that. And the other, and, like, again, like, it's hard to really pinpoint people because, like, I can take early in my brewing career, Shaun was definitely someone I talked to a lot about a lot of stuff I did because we had a transitional period where we didn't have a head brewer, and it was just myself as the assistant brewer who had been there for 2 months and I knew really, really basic stuff. But I definitely spent a lot of time texting Shaun being like, I have to do this. This is what I'm thinking. Am I doing this right? And he'd be like, well, maybe do some of this and make sure you're doing this. But, like, I mean, outside of that, I like our Lakes and Legends current head brewer, Kyle Cooper. He was a huge mentor for me because when he came in, it was just me. And he basically, like, once he learned everything about our brewery, he went, okay, well, I'm not doing this alone. So you're going to have, like, a really rapid progression from, like, you know, just being the assistant brewer who cleans kegs and maybe sometimes transfers beers and hands me grain to, like, no, you need to be able to brew. You need to be able to do all this stuff. I need to be able to leave and trust that you can do this. So it turned into, like, basically him giving me a crash course.
Yeah.
And being, like, a really strong mentor in that.
That's important, and he did the right thing. And when I take a vacation or a week off or whatever, I don't want to be worrying the whole time. I want to know that the brewery's in good hands while I'm gone, you know, and so that's the exact approach I take with my assistant at HeadFlyers. Like, hey, if I get COVID like I did last July, I don't want to have to shut everything down, and I don't want to have to call in and walk you through things. I want you to be able to jump in and act like I'm like nothing happened. And so that's awesome. That's a credit to Kyle. That's exactly what he should do.
Yeah. I was very appreciative of it too. I mean, over my home brewing time and time in the craft beer industry, like I felt like I had most of the knowledge to do the process, to learn everything, or to like do everything. I just didn't have those buttons, like those little dots connected. And that's what he came in and did, and became a very strong mentor, and just like, well, we'll do this, like, but you got to do it this way, and you got to do it this way. You got to get from here to here. This is how you have to do it, and like really fired off on a lot of that stuff. I mean, even going as far as, I don't know where Riley's going to go with this, but a lot of what Kyle,
well, he's probably not going to mention you, so that's probably
the way he forced me to learn and reinforce what I did, which made him a great mentor in my mind, was when Riley came on as our intern. He actually would just tell me what Riley needed to do that day and make me teach it to Riley to reinforce me knowing it. Like, it was for Riley, but it was also for me. So
the best way to learn something is to teach it to someone else.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what he was doing, which was, hey, Riley needs to transfer that beer, and I'm not going to teach him. You have to teach him.
That's cool. I mean, to hear that Kyle had so much faith in you. I mean, I wouldn't trust you to babysit my pet rock. So that's to hear that somebody
rock,
else
I am great with
allowed you to do
He's a doormat.
something in the brewery. That's really cool. So I think it's interesting that so that Riley, you have no pressure here. You can talk about it.
Yeah, Riley, no pressure
mentor
here.
You want.
None at all.
Ignore the fact that Kabel is brandishing a lead pipe and a smile. Who are some of the people that helped you along?
Definitely Jeff at DCTC. And definitely Kyle and Kabel. So Kabel mentioned that there was a period when they didn't have a head brewer. So I got the internship.
Sorry, we had to do a cheers. The lovely Candace at Dual Citizen brought us more beers.
No, Candace. I was so excited we were doing it here because I'm like, I haven't seen Candace in so long.
Same. I haven't been here in a while. I feel like this is a place I go to more in the summertime, which is weird. Because they have their tap list right now. By the way, this is a 1 pint stand. We're broadcasting at the Dual Citizen Brewing Company tap room, and the beer list is phenomenal. They have so many great options, whether you're into hoppy, whether you're into malty, whether you're into sour. So that's just a cool time. And they were gracious enough to let us kind of like take over the corner. And we got the really comfy couch, and we're kind of back here, and a lot of other people enjoying themselves on a nice, balmy Minnesota February afternoon. So
40 degrees, baby.
That's right.
Mentors?
Go back to talking about how great I am.
I got the internship when Lakes had their last head brewer, and then he left a week after. They said, yeah, you can be our intern. And then I was waiting to hear back. I also got COVID that week. So I was like, hey, I can't start yet. I'm sick. And then Derek, the owner, or one of the owners, emailed me back and said, oh, also, our head brewer quit. we don't know if you can intern yet. We're hiring a new head brewer. I'll talk to him when he gets hired. And so very, very grateful to Kyle Cooper for coming in, getting a job, and then being like, also, you have 2 newbies. Do with that what you will.
Okay, wait. Hold
Not
on,
newbies,
though.
but like...
Hold on, though. They were... Okay, I did not know this part. They were going to have an intern when I was still only part-time.
Yeah. They were like, I don't know about this.
Sons of guns.
Actually, I lied. I got that story wrong. I emailed Jake, the old head brewer, and I was like, hey, so I can't start yet. And he emailed me back being like...
I see. Just throwing Derek under the bus here.
No, I didn't email Derek. I only emailed Jake. Jake emailed me back saying, actually, I quit. I don't know if they can still have you.
You heard this controversy here on a One Pint Stand.
It was also in the middle of COVID. Like, getting an internship was already hard because, like, you weren't going to try and bring new people into your staff if they weren't going to be like a full-time person. And so it was like navigating a lot of like confusion. And I am really, really grateful to everybody that besides Jake who took me in there. And so like Kyle was like, yeah, I remember going and meeting everyone. My favorite night about meeting everyone at Lakes was that I got a moldy barrel out of it.
Yeah, you did. I forgot about that.
It is my nightstand. It's getting.
You still have it?
Oh, I still have the moldy barrel.
Jesus.
It's a little dry now. It's definitely not in peak condition. I wouldn't put anything into it. But big props.
I wouldn't have put anything into it when you got it.
Well, no, it said moldy barrel. Why would I? Just get some real funky shit going up on in there.
Fucking wild fermentation, bro.
But yeah. Kyle taught me a lot. Kabel, through Kyle, taught me a lot. I think everybody I've met in the craft beer industry, for better or for worse, has taught me something about the kind of brewer I want to be, the kind of beers I want to make, and the kind of impact I want to have in this community. So I take a lot from everyone I talk to, whether that's I'm pouring someone a beer across the way and they have no idea what beer is. I had someone yesterday ask me what terpenes we put in a beer with terpenes. And I was like, you have no idea. I could tell you anything. And so I pulled something out of my ass because I'm a dick. And he was like, that's what I thought. And I was like, yeah.
Terpenes. Well, they use the Stratocaster. Obviously, that's a no-brainer if you're going to have a...
Use rat terpenes?
Yeah.
Rat terpenes.
I really just made something up, and I don't remember what I made up. But it was like a
armpit must?
Pretty much. I was like, that's what it smells like.
Nice. Well, that brings us to the close of another episode of A One Pint Stand. I want to thank Shaun, Kabel, and Riley for sharing their time and insights with us. They have such fantastic journeys that have led them to their respective brew houses. Their passion for brewing is evident, and their stories are dry hopped with a respect and appreciation for those who helped them along the way. I'm so grateful to call them friends. So, again, thank you for taking the time to listen to the first of what I hope will be many Brewers Roundtables on a One Pint Stand. I just love sitting down to talk beer with professionals. With that, this has been another episode of A One Pint Stand, a Minnesota craft beer podcast where the pants stay on, but the caps come off. Cheers.
So remember, basically you want to be sucking on the microphone.
Riley's pretty good at that, apparently.
At what?
Huh?
Sucking
Hey-o.
on microphones?
And speaking of that, a word from our sponsor. This podcast is being brought to you by the fine folks at Hoover. That's okay.